Hey everyone, this is Pause or Repeat. Here we figure out whether a game is really worth your time and money. Today's game is the System Shock Remake. The System Shock Remake is an attempt to take the 1994 PC classic and modernize it for modern audiences. Specifically, the gameplay is much more updated to be in tune with what gamers expect. The original was considered to be incredibly innovative and influential, going on to have a sequel in 1999 and inspire other series such as Deus Ex and BioShock. But does the remake do justice to something with such a legacy? To go over this, let's first take a closer look at the gameplay. The gameplay of the System Shock Remake is similar to the original. Night Dive Studios decided to not deviate too far from what was already set in place. While traversing the corridors of Citadel Station, you will come across various cybernetic enemies attempting to put an end to your life. The game keeps you on your toes as well, considering that enemies can respawn, meaning you'll never truly be safe. All the while, your objective isn't obviously clear to you right away, besides getting off the ship. The game doesn't hold your hand in telling you where to go or what to do, instead making you figure it out through trial and error, or putting together the clues via context and audio logs. Compared to the original, the feel of the gameplay loop is definitely similar, though that ends up being what might throw players off. But how does the story fit into all this? The story is simple yet nostalgic considering the release date of the source material. You are a hacker that has been caught accessing confidential Megacorp files. In a deal made with a higher-up executive, you release the ethical restraints on Citadel Station's AI, Shodan, in exchange for your life and some cybernetic implants. After waking up from surgery, you find that Shodan has taken over Citadel Station and turned the crew into her very own army of cybernetic abominations. It is up to you as the only one left alive to stop her before she spreads her influence beyond the space station. All things considered, it is interesting that the System Shock Remake even saw the light of day after almost 8 years of development. But now the question still stands: pause or repeat? I've been heavily anticipating this game ever since it got announced, and when
Yes,
I
you
saw that it
have.
was coming out finally, I was so excited for it because I actually was born in '94, so I had never got the chance to actually play the original. And when I did eventually try to go back and play it, it's just so outdated. It's actually really jarring how
Yeah.
outdated it is. But this game, like, it's been fun, but it's also very hard, and that's what I think is also going to be kind of its downfall. I think that a lot of people are not going to be having the greatest time playing this game, mostly just because it's so hard. And it's not even really just like the difficulty level that you choose; it's more just like the game design in general.
Yeah, because I know one of the biggest things that they've been hooting and raving about, the System Shock remake is you can actually change the difficulty. You know how like a lot of games are very generic. You got like sometimes nowadays there's like 6 different difficulties, and you're like, oh my gosh, what happened to easy, normal, and hard, right? But now you can change the difficulty, like where if you want like intense combat, you can change that as one little sub, topic. If you want to do something where you think the puzzles are too damn hard, you can make that easy. So I think that's kind of cool with what System Shock's trying to do. But I think you're onto something where like you were a '94 kid, I was a '93 kid. We didn't get the opportunity to play this game, and you're right. I mean, when you go and see like Doom, for example, try to hand that to your toddler or a little 7 or 8 year old to try to get him to try to get engaged with that video game. It's horrendous nowadays, and so to see this System Shock remake, I think it's very refreshing. But I know there's a lot of articles out there right now, Henrik, that are kind of calling, you know, System Shock remake a part of the four horsemen of the Golden Age remake. And the four that they're listing right now is Resident Evil, which we just found out, 500 million copies sold at Capcom, 142 million came from Resident Evil alone. Not just the four, but the whole entire franchise. Metroid Prime, which I wasn't too hyped on. I know you were very hyped on it. Dead Space, and then most recently, System Shock. But do you feel like this is kind of setting a tone? Because I feel like the graphics are sort of refreshing, and I do like the idea that it's a linear story. And I think more games can kind of embrace this kind of topicality when it comes to this gaming environment that System Shock remake brings.
No, I think you have a good point there of how like the industry's really been pushing for this like open world experience. as what is the AAA experience. Like if your game is not open world, then it sucks.
Then it's all
Essentially, is
right.
what people have been saying. But I think that there is something to be said about a linear, more or at least more linear experience because this one, has a lot of backtracking, but it's not open world, obviously, in the
Right.
same sense as like Tears of the Kingdom or Assassin's Creed, Odyssey kind of levels of open world.
Right.
But I think that when you have a more linear experience like that, you can really, you know, more easily craft the experience of the storytelling. Because, like, what a lot of people were having as an experience in Tears of the Kingdom, myself included, is I stumbled across something that I wasn't supposed to see until later on in the storyline.
Yeah,
So
because you
then
don't know where to go.
well, yeah, exactly. But also just like story beats, like I
Yeah.
had things kind of like spoiled for me in the wrong order sometimes, Then I'd be like, oh wait, that doesn't make sense. And then you find out, oh, I was supposed to go this other place first and then go over here. But in a linear story, you don't have that issue because you're able to tell the story in one specific way, and just like a book, you read it from beginning to end. It's the same way in a linear story. You're gonna have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it's gonna be in this correct order, not jumbled around constantly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, because again, we have to clarify with the gamers out there. We weren't around when System Shock came out, but I know a lot of the old school gamers, probably the Gen Xers, they have been really hooting and raving about this game. A lot of them really love that the combat experience has been better with the bats, the shoot, the burn, and the blow up of some really incredible, nasty monsters that you can escape from in the Citadel. I know a lot of people because how choppy games used to be developed back in the day. With games being choppy, it's almost like that Mike Tyson fighting boxing game. You know how it was like really hard to beat him back on the hard difficulty level
Oh
because it's
yeah.
so choppy. That really kind of made the bosses in System Shock a bit tedious. Now the fights are really intense. But Henrik, again, you are playing this game from a first time experience just like myself, and I'm really curious. I want to hear from you first before I even say it. Is it a pause or repeat for you? You've been hyping this game up since the beginning of the year. Are you satisfied?
So for me, a lot of my experience has been, the curiosity of experiencing this game for the first time, especially because it has such a historical value to the industry. If you've ever played a game where your first code that you have to put into a door or a box is 0451, that originated in this game. The
Oh, that's a
first
cool
code you
fact.
put in is 0451, and everyone who references that in other previous games, or sorry, later games, is just referencing this game. And so I've been really curious about what the experience is, and I want to say, for me at least, this is a repeat because I mean, part of that is maybe I'm a little biased. I really love this genre of game. The whole immersive sim genre is
Yeah.
my favorite genre, actually. But I think that I could see myself playing this like two, maybe even three times on
Yep.
higher difficulties just to challenge myself, especially because I feel like it's a refreshing challenge compared to a lot of games that are out there.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree, and I feel like you could burn through this game pretty quick,
Hmm.
because of like you said, and kind of you want to kind of coast through it because you want to kind of get that immersive experience. But then, as you beat it, yeah, I'm kind of with you. You're gonna want to repeat it. There's a lot of things that you're gonna probably mess around with the toggle of the difficulty settings. Just leave it alone, gamers. You just want to go in, play System Shock for how it is, and then challenge yourself. It's like this System Shock remake gave me the same experience that I felt with The Last of Us. You play it on normal mode, you love it so much, but I really want to see the experience of those zombies, how they were originally created, right? Or how these cyborgs are supposed to act in a quote unquote real life experience. They're not going to be easy to take out, right? So
No,
you're going to
definitely
want to
not.
replay this game again. It is a definitely repeat for us. And wow, we're agreeing today. Who
Yeah,
would have
for once
thought?
we're agreeing on that. But I kind of had this idea in my head. I don't know if Chris is gonna like this game.
No, no, I think you're absolutely right. I think it's definitely a repeat, and I love that whole fun fact that you brought up with the whole passcode thing because you're right. I mean, the more and more I think about what you're saying, this really kind of did, be the milestone of something greater that is now here in 2023. A lot of the things that you see in this video game is easily taken or stolen from System Shock Remake.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely. And and honestly, just to bring up the story a little bit, it's kind of like, as AI develops more and more, I just keep my eye on this storyline. I'm like, I hope that they don't do the thing of like, hey, we see this game with this AI named Shodan. Let's make that AI. Let's
well,
make that happen.
it's probably already trying to be developed as we speak. I mean, let's be real. Elon Musk, the Neuralink. People always worried about chips in your brain and etc. We're going to be talking about RFK Jr. later on. What he said about video games, and he thinks that 5G is not going to speed up your video game. If anything, it's going to be more of a tracking device. And so whether you believe that or not, you're going to play this game, you might get kind of creeped out because the graphics, weirdly enough, updated seem like it really does fit for 2023, and this whole AI talk really kind of fits into the year of 2023. I always been joking with everybody that I talk to in person that if there's going to be a Times magazine of the year, it's going to be AI, and I don't know what that looks like. Maybe they might put Showdown
Oh well,
on the
hey, maybe
cover.
they will.
Maybe they will if they need an image.